Next up, Russ and I talk about the most shocking child death scenes in cinema history. Welcome back to 4K Kings. My name is Matt.
And I am Russ.
And today we are discussing one of the internet's most favorite topics.
That's right. And what is it, Matt?
The most shocking child death scenes that have scarred us for life.
What a pile of shit.
One of mine traumatized me as a child.
Some are very gruesome.
Yes.
And some that, like you just said, have haunted me since I saw it some 30 plus years ago. And if you think what possessed us to even make a video about this topic, you clicked on it. So what's that say about you?
What is the matter with you?
For me, one of the most memorable on-screen child deaths would be in the 70s horror cult classic Alice, Sweet Alice. Scuzzy is the best word to describe this film. What kicks off the plot is there's a communion going on at a church, and off to the side there is a small killer in a yellow raincoat and a disturbing mask who is strangling a 9-year-old child who is the daughter of the main character of the film. Like I said, it's so scuzzy and grimy the way the film looks. It has that 70s exploitation B film kind of real dirt feeling. So what you're watching, even though it's a tad low budget, it just feels like real. It sets off the film incredibly, since the rest of the film gets even scuzzier than that, but it always stands out.
In most cases, and I guess this could be said for pretty much everything we're going to talk about, but kids usually seem off limits. Like, kids are safe. Like, there's not, you see a kid on screen, nothing's going to happen to that kid. A teenager and up, you can be slaughtered and no one cares. But as soon as stuff like this goes on, it's like, damn, what a way to open a movie.
Very scuzzy, very grimy. If you're into movies like that, as I am, I highly recommend Alice, Sweet Alice.
If you're into movies like you are, where the children are murdered in the beginning.
If that's your thing, I recommend Alice, Sweet Alice.
And I have a feeling it is their thing because they're watching this video right now.
What is the matter with you?
First on my list for us is funny games. So for anyone that hasn't seen Funny Games, throughout this entire film, there are two antagonists that are terrorizing Naomi Watts and Tim Roth and their child. And the entire movie is just this cat and mouse game. This tension is rising and rising the entire time, where finally it is released when a child is with a. But you don't see that on screen, but in that moment, it is very, very devastating. The whole time you're just focused on the two adults. And that kid, he's probably going to be the last one alive. He's going to be the one that calls the police after the two parents are dead. You never think that he's literally about to be blown away.
I get it.
He's playing with all these conventions. He's literally telling the audience, hey, you guys are sick and you want this. You're not expecting the kid to die, so I'm going to give you that.
You definitely feel the aftermath, and it is definitely a very powerful moment within the film, which is why it's always been one that has made me a little uncomfortable, which is why I'm here to share these things and get it off my chest.
I'm here for you, Matt. If you're uncomfortable, dude, I'm here to listen.
I'm scared and I want to go home.
I have to go with the classic film Pet Sematary. Now, this one's a little bit more lighthearted when we're dealing with child death, right? No! Nico Hughes as an actor, wow. Someone should have given him an Oscar. Dude, with the exception of Fred Gwynn, he outacts the entire cast.
He's frightening.
And I got to give a shout out to the cat also, because Church, even the cat outacted the entire cast. So if you're unaware, Gage runs into the street and gets by a. What's so brilliant about this film, the director, Mary Lambert, she walked a beautiful line concerning the tone. This should be the most harrowing film of all time. This movie's enjoyable. I've watched Pet Sematary a billion times growing up.
And not to mention the scene itself, like the tension. He runs out in the road, the parents are coming, they kind of cut back and forth to the truck, to him, the truck to him, the parents are running.
And then do you remember how it ends? It cuts back to the truck, then you see his shoe go off in slow motion with blood on it. I don't know how Mary Lambert did it, but I applaud her. her. I think she did an incredible job making this film, and it's underrated. She came back to do part 2, and I always felt like because of Terminator 2 and Edward Furlong being in Pet Sematary 2, that there was probably some interference, probably some studio notes of like, hey, make this a little goofier, a little funnier.
No child death.
Major drag, huh?
You know, they wanted to make you maybe goof it up a little bit. When you're getting child death, when you're getting it to a degree that they're showing it in this movie, like with the intensity that they're giving it and the impact that they're trying to give to the audience, like that's got an edge. Like that's got a tone that you're not matching with goofy Edward Furlong part 2. If you got child death, it's a whole different ballgame.
I agree.
I'm way too excited.
What is the matter with you?
Possessor. Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor, which was a film that came out a few years ago. And I told a story on this channel about how I watched this movie, and then when it came out in 4K, it was the director's cut. It was something like 54 new seconds of footage. It's very Cronenberg. It's very wet. It's very practical. When things get stuck into skin, you see the close-up, you see the blood coming out. It's very icky.
I got you. Icky.
So when you add that extra seconds, you actually start to realize, wow, it was a lot more gruesome than what even I thought was gruesome in the first one I watched. I didn't even realize you could take some of these scenes and ratchet it up even more. Well, there is a scene in this film where a kid gets in the regular cut. What's shown is enough to make it, you know, horrifying. And although it only adds 0.33 seconds more, it feels like an eternity.
It was like James Caan in The Godfather.
Basically, dude, perfect analogy. It was like almost like a cartoon. It was a bit much, Brandon.
This can't happen.
Next on my list, and arguably I would say this may be the #1 on-screen child death, simply due to its fucking unhinged nature. John Carpenter's first major film, Assault on Precinct 13. This is in the first 10 minutes of the movie and ultimately serves nothing for the film except establishing that this town is overrun by a gang element. This is the cutest little girl you've ever seen. Pigtails, a dress, everything is like, yo, this is a child. So the girl walks to get ice cream, but since he's distracted, he gives her the wrong flavor, right?
Okay.
She walks away. The gang dudes come up and they start roughing the ice cream up. But since the little girl, she realizes, hey, this is the wrong flavor. She starts walking back. Excuse me, mister, I had the wrong... Just for having the wrong ice cream cone, John Carpenter massacred this child.
They spent some time with those special effects too. It's like a splatter.
Take it a step deeper. Remove the kid. Just kill the guy. And it could have set up what happens later in the movie perfectly. But nah, we had to make this little girl pay.
She had the audacity to come back and return her ice cream. There's a lesson. Just be happy with what you get and move on.
I know Halloween is Carpenter's horror masterpiece, but this is the scariest thing he has ever filmed.
As a matter of fact, it was.
The Toxic Avenger. I mean, you see a title like The Toxic Avenger, you think, oh, it's some comic book, it's some silly, it's a kid's movie. It sounds like one. A similar thing happened in the 80s to our generation with RoboCop. So many unassuming parents showed us that film, and that's exactly what happened to me with The Toxic Avenger. Dude, within 10 minutes of this film, I wanted to cry.
This guy, if he can't take a joke, he stinks.
It's the group of jock pricks, you know, who we already saw were assholes at the gym, and they're driving around and they have a point system about killing pedestrians. Yo, this will count for 5 points, and the goal is you kill them, you run them over. You see a little kid, probably around my age, he's got a helmet on, he's getting on his bike. Bye, mom, you know, have fun, okay, and he's rolling out. And then it cuts back to the car, and they're all coked up and everything, drinking, and they're like, no, there's that kid right there, get him. How many points is that?
28 points if you can get both the kid and the bike.
When they hit him, it goes in slow-mo, and you see the kid like fly over the car, and then they look in the rearview mirror, and he's like crawling. So they put it in reverse and squash this kid's head like a fucking watermelon, dude. Tonally, I'm watching this movie like it's a snuff film. I didn't understand that this was supposed to be funny and absurd, you know? And I'm not kidding, dude. I wanted to cry. Cut to about a year or two later, I watch it again, and it ended up being one of my favorite cult films of all time to this day, probably due to that experience. And it has to be, at least for me personally, one of the best child deaths ever on screen.
This is a poignant video. This is a great journey we're on. I feel like this video is going to conclude in a very positive way, despite the morbid subject matter.
You're right.
Darren Aronofsky's Mother. First time watching the theater, this was just insane. The tension, insane. You don't really know what's going on, especially if you're going in cold. You really are sort of tormented as an audience member, basically as tormented as Jennifer Lawrence's character is. And all of this culminates into a pretty insane, what do you want to call it?
They took a baby and
It all culminates with Jennifer Lawrence's baby being ripped from her bare hands and being right in view of the camera. And it is awful. And what comes after that is even more awful, if you can even imagine that. But that scene is so memorable, and you had no idea where this was going. You didn't really still know what really was even happening. And up to that moment still.
Well, if you're Darren Aronofsky and you want to save the planet, you got to make drastic choices when you make movies.
I'm really sorry.
This final one affected me and still affects me to this day, and that's why it's number one. And that is My Girl.
Get out of here.
I've spoken on My Girl before, and the reason why I've said this time and time again is as a young child watching this film, having only really known Home Alone, to see a movie that stars Macaulay Culkin where he then dies by what is also, by the way, horrifying, being stung to death by bees. That is terrible. I can't believe Macaulay Culkin, who I just watched and loved in Home Alone, got stung to death by bees on camera. I was crushed and changed for life had it been any other child actor, but it wasn't him specifically. It might not have hit me as hard as it did, but Macaulay Culkin just meant so much. And when he died, a part of me died too.
Put his glasses on. Put on his glasses.
If dead Macaulay Culkin had never been stung by those bees, he would have never been there to take Jacob where Jacob needed to go.
Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for talking through all of these past traumas with me, where we discuss things that hurt us inside and things that we now mock and laugh at because we're soulless. Like if I'm watching a getting and I'm laughing, then there's a problem, don't you think?
Yeah, I think the segment's over. Right?
So if you made it to the end and you haven't called the police yet, like this video, subscribe, tell us what some of your favorite child deaths are. Don't act like you don't have them. You know you do. Don't make me feel like the bad guy. You're the bad one.
He's making it worse.
Check out some of our other videos where we're not talking about children dying. We live stream every other Wednesday, and keep supporting physical media.
And please, if you ever see a child in danger, dial 911. Or if you just see Matt walking around.
A Serbian film. It probably doesn't surprise you to know that there's some child death in it. A few scenes, in fact, but what I'm really going to be focusing on is the scene where a child gets. Do you want to add anything to that?
No.